All right, and we're live. Good morning, Coach Muhammad. How we doing today?
Doing great. Good morning, Coach.
All right, my man. So we're gonna get right into it. I'm gonna focus on you, and just shift the focus to you while I just kind of share some stuff. We've got we got a lot going on. We're talking about some really sweet topics. What else is new though? I mean, we got Westland cruising along. Got summer programs going well. Do we have a booth event at your kid's school this coming weekend? Trade event?
We do. We do. We have a little event at some local organizations in Canton, Westland area, Canton, Plymouth area. So real excited about that. We've gotten a lot of requests to get out there, and so yeah, we're gonna meet some of the community members and organizations. So we got some really fun stuff to get out there and meet some new people and showcase Metro Jiu-Jitsu.
Is that open to the public for people who want to come, or is that just the school?
That's a good question. Uh,
We'll find out, but it's gonna be. I mean,
yeah,
it's not the first thing. Not the first. What I really love about really the warm season in general is we get to do a lot of trade events, and I'm kind of jealous of the warmer climates because they can do this year round. We've got about 7 minutes in Michigan of warm weather, and but dude, I'm so stoked to be back at the Wyandotte Street Fair. I was talking with Heather and the crew down there, and like we're gonna get a bigger booth now. It's gonna be 20 by 20 because we're gonna do our $60 in 60 seconds challenge. Dude, that is gonna be sick. Like that is gonna be we get to open up full mats. And I was talking with Steve Phibbs last year. He's like, no one does this anymore. It's like kind of old school Gracie challenge, and that is like
yeah.
that, dude. That is so sweet. Like I can't wait to give. I'm gonna need to get some backup though. Like I got to get some of our. I think I was down there for all 3 or 4 days. By the fourth day, dude, my neck was wrecked. Like you're effectively position training for like 8 hours a day in the heat. So not the smartest thing I've ever done, but dude, it was so fun. It's so fun. You get these big
What what
wrestlers down there.
what is $60 for 60 seconds?
So it was for those who don't know, it was like a Gracie challenge. It was like a milder Gracie challenge. Like we literally got a sign, and we just pitch people like, hey, dude, you want to earn some quick cash? You want to earn $60 in 60 seconds? And so many people would like walk past me, and then they're like, wait a second, what do you say? And then they turn back around, they're like, what do I gotta do? I'm like, all you gotta do is like you give them top mount, and admittedly, for anyone who trains, it's hedged in our favor, right? If I get any type of a guard, I think I said close guard. I didn't even say half guard. If I get close guard, they lose the challenge, right? Because now I'm in a highly protective position. Dude, one guy came. This big wrestler came real close. Like he kind of passed, like did like a smash pass and got like a scarf hold. I was like, man, that was what wrecked my neck. But yeah, and so then people stop because it's like the trade fair. A lot of people you know they they're looking at like there's like yard signs and this and that, and it's like the only active thing, so you'll get a lot of people watching. But now we're going to be in the center aisle, like I believe directly across from the information booth, and so you're going to have like access on both sides. We got that canopy I was telling you about. It's going to be huge. It's going to be 4 times the size of what we had last year. So dude, I'm stoked about it, honestly, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, we it'd be fun to include some of the other guys like blue and purple belts and brown belts because
We got
when
Coach
you're
Jimmy down there. Coach Jimmy came through. He did really well, but they're yeah. I definitely need some. Like I can't be down there. I can't be get. I'd have Jablil go down there, but it's kind of like it doesn't show as well if you've got someone who's 250. Trying to hold him. It like doesn't show as well. So. But I'm stoked about that. You got those, and now that we're like over in the Canton area, like I'm gonna be reaching out to Plymouth. Plymouth has a street fair, I think. And so, dude,
they have a nice one. Yeah, that's
yeah,
a nice area.
yeah. Plymouth's all right. So I'm excited to be over there as well. So, but let's get into this. So first topic we have is about the poisoning of America, and you and I briefly talked about this yesterday. We were just talking about food that what's in your food kind of effectively. We were talking about, someone was, we were talking about Celsius. I drink a lot of Celsius energy drinks.
Yeah.
We were talking about like the ingredients in those, and just what a lot of people don't realize is there's an entire ingredient list that of things that they're quite literally illegal. Like they're banned. You're not allowed to put them in food over in Europe or Great Britain or whatever. Like there's a whole list
Yeah.
of food that is just illegal. Meanwhile, we're eating away at Michigan, right? So you've probably got the expertise here, with your experience in the supplement business, being effectively a lifelong athlete. So what's your take on this? Like, what's your take on this? How do you make sure you're getting high quality, sustainable food that's not, effectively, I believe, creating cancer in your body? So like, what's your take on it?
Yeah, so it was funny because yesterday my daughter walks into the gym and she's like, "Baba, you have to get rid of these primes." So we have like I don't know how many cases of prime drinks sitting inside the gym, like I don't know, 10 cases of prime and some hydration drinks, amino acid drinks and energy drinks. So we have like 5 or 10 cases of prime and she's like, "You have to get rid of these." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so, I thought it was like a Logan. She just doesn't like Logan Paul. And she's like, this stuff is dangerous.
Hey, wait, hang on, hold it. Does he own Prime? Does Logan Paul own Prime, or is he just like endorse it?
No, that's his company.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
huh?
Bro, like
I
let me
didn't
tell
realize that.
you that over the last year, I've had hundreds of calls and parents coming in like they're trying to get the new release of a video game just so their kids can get a prime drink. Like typically a prime drink costs like $3 to $5, right?
Wow,
So they were in such demand that cases of prime 12 drinks were selling for like $80 online.
wow, that's
I know it's
that's
crazy. So
that's
anyway, my
wow.
daughter's like, you have to get rid of these. She's like, they're dangerous for their body, and she said they have something in there called forever chemicals. So
Forever chemicals.
essentially, forever chemicals, and this is just this is what I heard. I haven't verified it. We looked online. And there's a couple lawsuits on there, but forever chemicals are essentially ingredients they use in like pizza boxes. Um, they use in frying pans to coat the pans, so it's kind of used to repel oil and water and resist heat. And I guess when these chemicals go in the body, they never leave, and that's why they're called forever chemicals.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
looking. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to. Let me see if I can add this to the. I can't pronounce these, dude. But okay, but it looks like it's only in the grape one, right?
um,
Is it only in the grape one?
before we get rid of them, I'm probably going to have to. So to make my daughter feel better, but um, I guess whatever flavors they're in, these are chemicals that could be in there. And I think you or somebody else told me that they might even be in Celsius.
Yeah, I mean that's the I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. That I mean, if you're drinking something out of a can, you know what I mean? Like you kind of you know what you're signing up for. I mean, I feel like that's kind of my take on it. If you're
Yeah,
drinking something out of an aluminum can, like you kind of know what you're signing up for. I mean, I'll overlay the screenshot here. I mean,
yeah.
that's kind of my take on that.
So like I was having a protein drink, I was having some HMB, some greens, um, and like I mixed it all together. And boy, it was a bad mix. I don't think I'll do that same mix again.
What
And
was it? Greens, protein, and energy drink.
greens, protein, HMB, and fiber.
Okay, all right.
And it was like really, really bad. So I was drinking it, and I was telling my son, I'm like, man, this is disgusting. And he's like, well, why are you drinking it? I'm like, well, you have to train your brain, and it doesn't have to be this way every day, but you really have to kind of make decisions on what you put in your body, on the nutritional value versus the taste.
Yeah.
Because
Dude,
like the forever chemicals, sugar, and sweeteners, like they are they're poisonous to your body. Like they're so toxic, and sugar is like crack. I mean, it's
I,
harder to get off sugar than it is probably heroin.
dude, that
So
is that, and sugar's a big one. I mean, that is. I mean, my kids. I mean, there's a lot. Like, there's the thing, and the older I get, the more I feel like the weird hippie dude. You know, that Amanda calls it crunchies, right? Because I'm just like, my kids don't eat red dye. You know, my kids don't eat red dye. It's like affects. We've read a lot of stuff about it. I really limit their into. Um, I'm not super like strict in terms of like no. You know, like there are some people like literally their kids have zero candy. I mean, I grew up on a lot of candy, you know, and I'm okay. You know, I think there's a couple things I don't want them to, you know, have this sort of like snobby candy appeal, but they understand they don't eat the red dye stuff. And I ask them, you know, and Landon will be like, "Hey, can I have a cookie?" I'm like, "Okay, well, is a cookie a good choice or a bad choice? You know, is that a healthy decision or not?" Because he's at least aware now. And again, you've heard me
yeah.
say I literally just complete ignorance about food. I thought all food was created equal. Just don't eat too much and you're good. I mean, even milk. Do you remember like the push for 90s kids to drink milk was like heavy. Milk was like if you didn't want broken bones, drink milk. And there's in a glass of milk there's 13 grams of sugar, dude, and like regular whole milk, vitamin D, which I don't even really drink, you know, dairy milk anymore. So like it's all of this stuff that as you look into, and then we wonder why, like, you know, why cancer hasn't gone away and people are still getting it. It's like you're putting these really foreign objects into your body when you could be just, you know, doing organic micronutrients are a huge one, veggies, blueberries, vitamins. You know, I think a lot of our diet lacks in some of those things, so you can supplement with, you know, like vitamins and D3 and zinc and all that stuff. Like that's the greens alone, the scoop of greens is huge because you can get like, you know, double or triple the normal serving. And the brass tacks comes down to you feel better when you get older. You may not notice a difference when you're 18, 19, 20, but when you're like north of 29, you feel better. You notice the difference.
Yeah, I mean, sugar causes inflammation, and carbohydrates cause inflammation, and it's essentially like a firecracker going off in your body. You feel good short term, you get a quick energy boost, but immediately after the smoke clears, like you're crashing, and then you need more sugar to get that explosion and the energy again. Then you need it again and again and again, and it gets to a cycle. And then people have the insulin resistance, and that's how diabetes sets in. And sugar is such a you know sugar is so widely used that they essentially raise corn, turn it into high fructose, and that turns into sugar in your body, and that's used in energy drinks. I'm sorry, sodas, anything with like sweeteners in her, cakes, candies, all that high fructose syrup. And it's such a big business that the government essentially subsidizes a certain amount of production of those ingredients because of lobbyists that uh, um, the like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and those companies that manufacture Hershey's, the companies that manufacture all those um, sweet drinks and sweet foods, that they pay the farmers extra money to continue to grow it and grow it more. And then
Yeah.
it goes right back into, like I said, the sweets, the candies, the cakes, the soda drinks. So it's very, 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 it's a dangerous, slippery slope that, you know, every single American has probably got on. And you know what? I'll also say, one of my friends just got back from the Middle East, and he was in the Middle East, and he was eating meat like 3-4 times a week, and
Mm-hmm.
everything that he was eating was essentially like from the land. They don't have like big manufacturing facilities, and
Yeah,
the,
that's a
the
big
food is not
difference.
as commercial as here. And he told me he's never felt better. He's essentially ate most of the same food that he ate here, except over there. But he said his bloating went away, His body felt better. Inflammation was gone, and like all the stuff that they put into the foods is just causes inflammation, which causes cancer cells, diabetes cells, muscle aches, cramps, all from the inflammation of the forever chemicals and stuff like that in foods.
So there, we have like I think it just begins shopping with like just start looking at the ingredient, right? Like start looking at the ingredients. These are some of the, alleged forever chemicals, and we're gonna put them up here. I can't, dude, I can't pronounce these. I mean, what? No, that's not it. It's where is I gotta find it. But start if you start looking. Yeah, here we go. If you start looking at the yeah, can you pronounce any of these? High I butanesulfonic acid,
No,
deconoic
man.
acids, heptonic acids, noctonic acids, undecaic acids. Like that whole dude, that whole list, right? Like if you start looking at this, I know when I was working with a nutrition coach, Craig Funk, he's like, just go with stuff with like one or two ingredients or three, you know, blueberries, peanut butter, whatever. Like that's what you're gonna deal with, right? Like
Yeah.
if you can simply do that, you're way ahead of the game, right? And it doesn't even have to be like organic blueberries, like we're not gonna get super deep into it. I can get going back to the performance though. I will feel my body start to inflame um eating things like pizza. Like I'll be like, man, dude, like I won't even finish the meal and like my knees, I'll feel it, the difference of it. And I think a lot of, especially in American lifestyle, like they just chalk it up to it's old age. Oh, it's this. Like, dude, it doesn't have to be that. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way. Especially what I'll add is, a lot of these, you and I, we're pretty active, right? Like, and we beat up our body through jujitsu. So it's common to have a little bit more aches and pains than maybe the rest.
Yeah.
Susie or, Karen, pardon the cliche white chick names, right? But like they're sitting at their office, like I don't like your body shouldn't hurt like that, and so there's something else that's legitimately poisoning it. My daughter she was telling me, she's like, Daddy, how come we never get McDonald's? I said, McDonald's is building material. It's literally caulk. Like it's like, like it's not, I won't eat it. I said, honey, when's the last time you saw me eat McDonald's? She's like, you never eat McDonald's. I said, right, I don't. I choose other I mean, I'll eat Chick-fil-A. I'll choose other fast food. I'm not like a snob like that, but dude, I won't touch it, dude. I mean, there's countries who have banned McDonald's. They literally just ban it. They're like, it's, and then they put the last burger on the shelf and it's still preserved 40 years later. I mean,
That's
you
crazy.
you want that going into your body? Come on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And let's talk a little bit about how that performance works, right? Like what are some things people who are like, oh man, this is overwhelming, because if you go into the store, the odds are absolute, unless you go to like specifically a health food store, like maybe Whole Foods, but even Whole Foods, right? You got to look at those same ingredients. One that got me was Cliff Bars. They do a good job of making those look healthy, don't they?
Oh, they're nice.
Yeah, they make
Listen,
it. They're like, oh, he's climbing, or like he's mountain climbing. This is a very healthy. It's a candy bar, dude. Cliff Bars are candy bars.
look, so being in the supplement and nutrition industry for over 20 years, companies and manufacturers have to put out a decent product. But even when that is done, they invest like so much money, millions of dollars, and I'm talking about small companies, to change the texture and the marketing on the actual product to entice you to buy it. So so it's so some people make decisions based on what the bottle looks like, what the bottle feels like, how much color is in there, the contrast of the color. So um, because the ingredients are so cheap to make that they can afford to spend money on these these forever chemicals, ingredients that are not so healthy for you. So they take some of that money and they put it back into, say, well, a lot of people who make health decisions, supplement decisions, and nutritional decisions a lot of times they're impulsive. They feel bad, they're not doing really good, or they just want to, have aches and pains or whatever. So they go out and make an impulsive decision. And because it's not thought out and these are not educated decisions on what's good for you, how to eat, when to eat, how to supplement, when to supplement, they pick up a bottle. It looks good. It feels good. You have buzzwords in there. And a lot of times
Those
people will make the
buzzwords,
decision.
dude. Those
Yeah, oh,
buzzwords.
yeah.
Vitamin B, no sugar, gluten free. I was telling Amanda, I was like, gluten free is the biggest. Wine is gluten free. Okay, so it's like they're putting those buzzwords in. You hit, man. It's marketing. And you're marketing. It's how you can, how you can get them to feel about the product without doing their research. I mean, that's a simple test though. Is
Yeah.
you look at the ingredient list.
Yeah, I mean, look at it like this. The next time you guys go to a shopping for food, you were going to spend so much more and buy unnecessary items when you were hungry. I do it all the time.
Mm,
But and then you're in an impulsive state where, I gotta eat, and you start shopping and buying more than what you came in for, more than what you need. And the impulsive decisions that are made in that state is very similar to saying, I want to get healthy. What do I eat? So it looks good, it feels good, it's clean. Words like fresh, words like clean, sustainable,
yeah,
things like that. And we're talking about like farm raised uh, uh, um, fish and stuff that's like genetically grown.
yeah.
So, you know what? I, I don't know where the place is. I'm kind of glad because I don't want to, I probably would call them out, but I know somebody who bought a home in Detroit,
Okay.
and the person owned a seafood business not far from where the home was. So they essentially, their seafood business was very close to their home. So the person bought the house, and after they took over the house, they saw that somebody was actually growing shrimp in their basement, taking the shrimp and
Dog.
seafood in their basement over to their store wherever they sell it, and that's how they were getting a lot of their their material.
Dude, that is putrid. That is
That is
that is see that like
disgusting.
man, nah, dude. Like and that's where like more and
I
more
mean,
I'm just getting
that's not
again,
responsible.
dude, as
Dangerous.
it's irresponsible, it's kind of criminal. Like what you got a license to grow shrimp in your basement? No, you don't. Like guaranteed,
Yeah,
no, not a
it
chance,
was
dude.
horrible.
Not a chance. That's gross. So I mean, again, I start like, and I think I'm a good like candidate for this, because I wasn't my family certain I mean things were different when I was growing up, but like, dude, I name all the junk food. I ate all the junk food, Frosted Flakes, cereal, ice cream bars, like all of it, right? And I think it's getting a little bit worse now, but you just start with simple steps. You start with simple steps and having conversations and to your point, I like to start the day off with like a good really nutritionally rich shake. And I do eggs and protein powder and some almond milk. And that seems to like really, like it's a good kind of clean thing. It holds you over. And then when you shop, I mean, it undoubtedly it will cost more money. I mean, if you just need to understand that it will cost more money short term.
Well,
It will cost less money long term.
yeah, you know what? I would agree with that, but I would also say for anybody listening, there's also a little bit of a misconception about eating healthy costs more money. From my
Yep.
experience and people that I've worked with, when you eat healthier foods, you actually require less to get full. When you eat healthier
Mm,
foods, oftentimes they keep you fuller longer. When you eat healthier foods, you're not like I need a coffee with triple cream, triple sugar. When you eat healthier foods, you don't need to like eat again and again and again and again throughout the day because that firecracker goes off. You get that energy, you get that rush, and like you need it again and again. So healthier foods often are lower glycemic, which means they keep you fuller longer.
mm,
So overall, you need less of the food
mm,
to satisfy you. And there's healthy foods that some people might debate it, like just take broccoli or take oatmeal.
mm.
those keep you fuller longer. And broccoli has protein. Oatmeal keeps you fuller longer. You can add peanut butter in there, or protein in there, protein pancakes. So there's a lot of ways that you can get the nutrition, you know, and stay fuller longer without thinking, you know what, I have to spend like 100% more money on 100, 200% more money on healthy foods. It's not really like that. And if you
I
start to experiment a little bit, then you'll see that it's not as expensive as people think it is.
I no, I agree. I agree with that, and I think that's a great point. To your not to nullify that point, but this is, you just brought up oatmeal, so this is a good segue into, this is an ingredient list, right? And now this is not, if you're looking at this, is not exactly apples to apples, because on the left you have the American Quaker strawberries and cream oatmeal. To clarify for the audience, when you're talking about oatmeal, you're not talking about this sugary syrup stuff. But look at the ingredient list. You got whole grain rolled oats, sugar. Number 3 ingredient, sugar. Creaming agent, maltodextrin, sunflower and palm oil, blah blah blah. Going all the way through down to flavoring. The UK version, again, it's kind of a deceptive comparison because it's just plain oatmeal. So they compared like a sugary kind of like glazed oatmeal to Quaker whole grain rolled oats. Sugar is still, it's still the number 3 ingredient, but there's less of all those other chemicals, right? So you're still getting some of that sugar in there, but all the rest of it is down. And you can even get oatmeal is dirt cheap. As far as like a food, it's just people, I think culturally you're accustomed to, if you go to a breakfast bar and you see oatmeal, what should you be looking for next to it? Like, what's always
Fruit.
served with it?
Fruits.
Fruit, brown sugar, like candied almonds. It's not just like blueberries or
Yeah.
blackberries. It's like
Yeah,
sugar.
true.
You got your oatmeal. Give me the powder. The brown sugar on there, which is just it's a kind of a cultural thing. And unlearning it, I think, is it just takes a little bit of practice. That's all it is. And you're spot on about those micronutrients leaving you fuller longer. A really good substitute that I like for instead of peanut butter, and I love peanut butter and jelly, dude. Like I lived off peanut butter and jelly when I was doing doors because it was good for hot or cold weather. Is blueberries and natural peanut butter
Mixed.
not blended, but you just like take a scoop of like natural peanut butter and then you sprinkle some blueberries in, and then you
I'll
eat
have
them
to
by
try
the
that.
yeah, you eat them by the spoonful. I'll add some granola, if I want like a texture, because it's kind of like it's a really gooey texture. So to your point, like we like crunch, right? We like some texture in there. So I'll add some granola or maybe even oatmeal in there. But like that's like you got blueberries and you got natural peanut butter. It's 2 ingredients, maybe 3, because the
Yeah.
natural has got some sugar in it. So
Yeah, and
um,
you know what? Fats are good for your brain, your joints. Fats help you focus more, and fats are like there's a lot of benefits to them. They keep you fuller longer. Peanut butter has it, and you know it helps you retain more information, learn more information, and like as we go through our curriculum, we as coaches try to keep in mind how can we communicate this information to our students about our jiu-jitsu curriculum. How can we teach them more, better, faster? Assuming you're having your good fats like nuts, avocado, olive oil is a good fat, coconut oil is a good fat. Let's assume that you're taking in all that. Then the curriculum that we've created at jiu-jitsu is going to make your learning curve much, much faster, much easier. And, we've seen that a lot of our students with zero martial arts experience, zero wrestling experience, have learned jujitsu and able to implement it and are doing very, very well. Um, so you were talking a little earlier about like some different teaching styles. So essentially, as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, trainer, and professor, our job, just like in school and college, our job is to teach. Their job is to learn. So it's not like college. Well, you know what? If you don't get it, it's your problem. Like the burden is on us if the students come to the table and have skin in the game, we want to teach them the information, have them apply it, comprehend it intellectually. So what is it? What are some of the things that you have been doing and implementing to help people learn more jujitsu, better jujitsu, in a faster time? Because it's like a, what do you call it? It's like a slow cooking. You can only speed up the process so much in jiu-jitsu. It takes a while to learn and kind of put together. So what is it? Some things that you're doing to help students excel so quickly?
Yeah, so I've actually, I mean, I'm researching into a little bit different approach that Coach Jimmy turned me on to, but I always try to stick to one thing per class and focus on concepts, not moves, right? And I wish that would have been communicated to me, or I wish I would have realized that sooner. Like
Yeah.
you're not memorizing moves, right? So I'll always say, I will always say something and coach something and say, here's the concept, right? We covered the armbar, and I'm like, all right, armbar, you need the fulcrum north of the elbow, because a lot of people, it's too shallow, and so now it's on the forearm. There's no braking force there. And then I also know, because we know a lot of our members personally, I will know exactly what they do, and then I start speaking their language in manners that they will understand. So if they're in the medical field, I'll talk about, it's very similar to, like, if you're, and apply it to their medical field. If they're an engineer, you use that language, or using analogies that are universal, especially in the kid. Dude, if you're coaching kids, if any coach listening to this, if you can find a way to incorporate Marvel superheroes into your curriculum, you want to keep a kid's attention. Dude, we've got this takedown off the single leg. It's called, I call it Thor's hammer. And I was like, you come down like Thor's hammer, and so you've got you're running the pipe from the single leg, and they kind of run away, to like snake it out, and you just force your forearm down on that knee to kind of collapse it down, and those analogies go a long way. So that's what I've done up until this point, but you're still teaching like concepts, and something that I'm diving a little bit deeper into is an ecological approach, which is, I'm reading Rob Gray's book right now, How We Learn to Move. And so in like when you and I were coming up, what finished the phrase, drillers are what?
Killers.
Drillers are killers. So it's like, or the Bruce Lee, don't fear a man who's done 10,000 punches. Fear a man who's
Fear a
done
man
one
who's
one
in 10,000 reps
kick.
of one technique.
Yeah, like, right. So it's like, and that's very much like a kind of a broadly accepted thing. The research that he would show is that it's not ultra efficient, and this even goes back like 100 years, because going back to the first guy, some Russian dude. I want to say Tolstoy, but it's not Leo Tolstoy. So it's like they did a study of movement, and mind you, this was 100 years ago, so it took a long time. But you know how you did Lord of the Rings Lord of the Rings, Gollum's character? They would have a human in a suit with a whole bunch of LED light bulbs and mimic the movement to create that CGI.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about. But
So, well, not even Gollum, but like, so if you wanted to make, or Avatar, right? Like, it's a whole bunch of blue people. Obviously, they're not blue. It's you and me just dressed up in a movement suit. And so it's just us in a room. And so as I'm moving my hand here, you have light bulbs, and so you're able to see that movement and everything I do. Well, he did this in like 1923. So what they did is they were having the blacksmith. He was working for like the Russian army at the time, and they're like, we need to get our novice blacksmiths to the effectively journeyman blacksmith level quicker. What's the difference? And so you would think, that the journeyman was able to hit the exact same spot every single time. And you would think, oh, it's because he's doing the exact same movement every single time, right? Isn't that what conventional wisdom would dictate?
yeah,
Yeah, it was not the case. In fact, what happened was they had from between destination A and B, there was more variant or a lot of variance. Like I wouldn't go straight overhead. I would go maybe over here sometimes. And so he's like, it's not that they simulate the exact same move every time. It's that they auto correct. And so you need to inject variety of training. You and I were taught there's only one way to do a knee cut pass, right? Like here's the way, do it this way. It's just not, it's not the case because and jiu-jitsu is a perfect example of this. Have you ever had the exact same match twice? Never. No, it's always got, even if it kind of went somewhat similar, like it still had variance to it. And so he's talking about injecting variance into the training. And again, it made sense to me because I wasn't super athletic. And I was like, dude, that's, doing something like drilling's boring as hell, number one. But number two, you're not, because what you're simulating for a game, a match, a whatever, is not the same. You're training for like an unrealistic environment. And so either people quit, or and he works with like professional athletes, or they just miss. He used Tebow. Tim Tebow was a really good example of that. Did great in college, but he didn't include enough variance. And so he kind of flopped a little bit in the NFL. That's his, I don't really watch football, so I have no idea.
No, you're right about that.
But
yeah, like one of the philosophies and teaching methods that we incorporate into the adult program is we give you some movements to try in jiu-jitsu. And they're very, very basic, whether it be beginner or advanced. And often we come back and say, okay, let's talk about the move and see how it worked and how you feel about the move. Often we give you incomplete moves or lead you into a place where you have to ask a question because you're stuck, or lead you into something to say, well, you know what, this kind of doesn't make sense. It's very simple how you explained it, but I got here and I'm at a point where it doesn't make sense and I can't go anywhere. And, so, and it kind of goes into if you asking a question is going to get you the answers to anything you want on the mat, off the mat. If you ask the right questions, or if you ask enough questions, you're going to get the answer to what you want. And, that's one of the philosophies that I like to do is I like to incorporate a basic moves and basic advanced moves to lead people into saying they should be asking a question at this point in the sequence. And if they do, we're going to open up more doors of technique for them. But if they're not doing the basic move and the basic principles, then, we can't even get to a point to where you're able to learn more jiu-jitsu. So essentially, sometimes some of the moves are taught, I don't want to say incorrect, but incomplete. So it should force students to say, you know what, these two don't go together. And if they get to that point, they ask the right question, then more doors will open for more technique. So I really like to do that, and I really like to get students to get to that point to say some things are not connecting here. Can you explain this? And what if option A happens? What if option B happens? And for me, that's really increased the amount of technique that's learned, and by simply teaching advanced and beginner moves.
Yeah, dude, so that's an asking question is a really good point, and it goes together with it. Coach Jimmy, I don't know if he's still on, but he's saying no technique is ever done the same way twice. That's factual. Like if you simulate, it can be done really close, right? But if you follow the trajectory path, and to your point of exactly what you're saying though, is if you say, hey, listen, I'm showing you maybe a fundamental way, maybe an advanced option. And I always like to preface this with the guys, here's an option I like. And then I say, if it fits, it ships, right? Like it's like the UPS logo. If you've done the job, right? If your goal is to get around the legs, I don't care if you transport there. However you get around the legs, that's a pass, dude. I mean, like that's a pass in the move. And so that's the point of it. And so I think a really unique, I think it was I want to say his coach Nazmia was being interviewed for something, and I want to say it's Nazmia. She was talking about the as far as the artistic aspect of jujitsu. She says, I like to be able to what did she say? It was effectively this is not what she said, but you put your spin on it. You get to the expressive nature. You get to express yourself, or the expressive nature of jujitsu. And that's like, if you take dance, right? Like, I've got my own personality that I'm injecting into it. But that's even sports. Everyone's got their own style. Every grappler has their own sort of expressive nature to it. Your game looks different than mine. Mine looks different than Coach Jimmy's or Faddis's or Jablida's or Coach Collins or even the beginner. There are people. Coach Sawula, I think he's a really good example of this. He does not look like your traditional purple belt. Like when you think of a jiu-jitsu purple belt, you think like slap bump, and then they immediately sit and start working some type of a guard. That's just it's not his style. It's not his expressive nature. Part of it's a physical constraint. Other parts of it are just, that's his personality too. So I think that expressive nature, so long as you're still completing the goal, right? You're like, get around, get the takedown, get them out, hold them down. Like, that's the goal of it. And it makes it super simple because, and something I found really interesting, you perform really well under pressure, don't you, Coach? I mean, if we're taking your tournament record as any indicator, would you feel like you perform well under pressure?
I would think so. Yeah.
I would agree. I would firmly agree. It was interesting that in Gray's book, he said that the people who were taught the correct move choked, like a large portion of the time. They choked, as opposed to the people who were taught, here's your objective. However you get there, when it came time under pressure, tournament, draft, whatever, they choked less. Not to say they never did, right? Because it's still athlete dependent, but they choked less. I was like, dude, that was like, I'm just thinking of every jiu-jitsu tournament I went to. I'm literally like, we're slap, and I'm trying to remember the exact way to do this move on I'm trying to remember a fixed way of doing it on a variable environment. And I'm like, dude, it just, looking back at it, it's like, oh, it's common sense, but I didn't see it then, so.
Yeah. So there is some universal laws in jiu-jitsu, but it is a real expression of who you are, what kind of person you are, what kind of personality that you have, what kind of athletic ability you have or don't have. There are some universal laws.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you an example. If you're boxing, your hand should always be up and your chin is tucked down, right? So if you drop your hands and they're like over here, then the target is there and you're just going to open up. So in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there are some universal laws that we have to stick to in order to defend or attack a person. So outside of those universal laws, you have to have a good base. You have to be moving around, never keeping your feet close together. Otherwise, you're going to tip like a telephone pole. Outside of those universal laws, like, you get to learn about who you are as a person. And that's one of the cool things about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is, like, who you are inside who you really are inside is going to come out in Jiu-Jitsu. Like, I've said this before. If you hit the lotto and for $100 million, if you're a really good, nice person, a giving person, that's going to magnify who you are. If you're an ugly, nasty person, that $100 million is also going to magnify who you are. Yeah. So, outside of those universal laws, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brings out who you think you are, who you think you can be and want to be, because it's really an expression of what type of person that you are. And, that's one of the things I love about jiu-jitsu. And as far as, working under pressure, it's really like, this is another universal law that follows you at work. It follows you in any sport or any activity that you do. The more disciplined that you are in training, the more that you give your all into training. And training could be studying. Training could be watching somebody do the move and try and get yourself. Training could be a warm-up. The more that you give your all, 100% in that portion of your training, the easier it is to step into a role where, you know what, I'm not really nervous because like I know that I gave everything that I have and there's nothing to be nervous about because what I do know, I know 100%. And, on some level, you do want to go to a competition or you do want to go to a presentation or whatever it is, you're preparing for. If you don't know what you don't know, sometimes that is not bad because what you do know and what you're competent at and is, where you've been disciplined, it really shows up in performance in competition, sometimes in training, sometimes off the mat. And that confidence comes from being disciplined in the time that you spent in your art, your craft, and specifically Brazilian Jiu Jitsu because it translates to everything else.
Yeah, that's a trusting as far as competition goes, trusting the technique or trusting your having self belief or self confidence in it. That's a huge one. Leah here says, and how intelligent you are shows. I'm gonna assume she's referring to jujitsu. I would, yeah, I mean, yes, certainly, but there are some people that come in and they get jujitsu. I would say I'm pretty slow learner. Like athletics did not come naturally to me, because of what most children learn between 10 and 15. I had to learn between 19 and 24. Like even just very fun squats. Like how to squat and maintain an athletic position. Like didn't know how, right? And so I think in intellect, yeah, but yeah, yes. But asterisks. The smartest person doesn't win. Like there's still physicality. There's still how you again how you learn. To that point, it's how you learn. Some people learn really well by doing. Some people learn really well by watching them. I mean, that is, you want some incriminating footage. Record yourself. I had the advantage of that. I was like, guys, just grab your phones out, bring them out of that. Record your match. That is cringy, dude. It's so cringy. You're gonna be like, ugh. It looked so much better. I felt like I was doing it so much better than that. Like, but you could see. Oh, I see now. Why I got swept or whatever. So I think, yeah, I think. I mean, there's an intellect at play there, but I don't know if the most. I don't know if I'd say the most intelligent. In fact, yeah, I don't know if I'd say the most intelligent people, thrive in that. But
Yeah,
I,
and
I, I see what she's saying.
another thing that Brazilian Jiu Jitsu brings out, and it brings out the survivor, and it brings out like the resilience in a person.
The resilience,
And
absolutely.
and I'll give you like how I see it is if you go on YouTube and watch lion being killed, like it could be a lion being killed by another lion, it could be a lion being killed by hyenas, which are their sworn enemies in the jungle. It could be a lion being killed by buffaloes. It literally could be a lion being killed by any other animal, and lions are considered the king of the jungle. So if you watch a lion being killed, what happens is all the way to the end, until the last breath, what a lion does not do is a lion does not curl up in a fetal position and say, just finish me off. A lion will fight back literally until the last breath. A buffalo, the deer, the antelope, the warthogs, all of those animals, when they're being eaten by a lion, they lay down and literally let the prey eat them alive. And there's a different type of psychology there that that comes out and while training martial arts and Brazilian jiu-jitsu is you fight until the end. And I think that I see it all the time with all of our students is that when they are beaten, when they are outgunned, when they're someone is maybe has more experience than them, all the way into the end, they fight back. And sometimes you don't see it like you do a lion, like literally before his last breath, they're reaching back to claw, they're reaching up to bite. And Brazilian Jiu Jitsu brings that out in you. And I think that, that's one of the beautiful things that people will see when they train is they get to tap into that resilience and never, ever give up. whether they're beaten or not. They don't just lay there and let somebody eat them alive like those animals. And I think that's, one of the most attractive things that people learn in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because it translate that never give up attitude translate in your job, at your home,
Mm.
physically if you have injuries, emotionally, mentally. That never give up is like, it's a door that opens up that just starts to flow in all areas of your life.
So there's inevitably that we're going to get some wrestlers in the comments section at some point. So I want to anticipate those that come on. Tyler and I were talking about the wrestling room versus the jiu-jitsu room.
Yeah.
Dog, like I want to differentiate a little bit. Wrestling and Land, I plan for Landon and Scarlett if she wants to, but certainly Landon and Jameson. Like they will wrestle. They will wrestle in school. It's not really going to be an option, right? But that room, the wrestling room is like, it's straight up. They're not there to keep people. They're not there. The wrestling room is designed to break you, and they give zero F's about it. Jiu-jitsu, where I think, and the wrestling room is designed to only attract those who are naturally inclined that way a little bit. And this is my observation of it. And you're talking, I dig wrestling, but it is not designed to do is to take those who have yet to be molded into that hard figure and help coach them and craft them along the way. It's not really designed that way, and when you do so, when you meet someone where they're at, like a really timid, nice, gentle boy. Landon is, well, there are days. Landon's kind of like this. He's just a sweet boy. I mean, there are, at the moment, like he spends a good portion of his day around 3 women. Like, so when he gets around me, it's like, oh, this is dope. Like there's some testosterone, right? Like he likes that, but he's got like a lot of female influence. And so you can take him and kind of coming along him and meeting him where he's at to pull out that dog, to pull out that grit. That's what we work really hard to do, is that balance of like, oh, well, jiu-jitsu guys think you're tough, come into a wrestling room. Yeah, okay, cool. You'll double leg me and then I'll choke you in 60 seconds. Like you will certainly work harder, but like you have to meet some of these people where they're at. And that's something that we work really hard at this, like to be able to meet someone where they're at, someone who's not naturally physical, someone who's not naturally athletic, someone who's not like, I mean, we've got, it's probably a 50% female attendance rate in the fundamental class. If you were to like just overnight switch to college wrestling format, what would happen to those women? They'd all quit, like rightfully so. They'd all quit. Bloody noses and cut eyebrows, and like there's comp training for that, and so there's tiers to that. But that's kind of my take on that, just because I know you're going to get wrestlers and they're going to start that beef in the comment section. What's your take on meeting people where they're at to pull out that lion?
Hey, we're just the messengers, and it's up to people if they want to receive the message. And after they receive the message, they will do what they want to do. Some people are, their hearts are closed, their minds are closed, and they think they want something, but they're not willing to put the work in. So everybody's met on where they're at. We are just a messenger on giving you tools to open up doors and, thoughts and feelings and actions that are going to make you bigger, better, stronger. So, yeah, I mean, everybody is met where they're at, like I said earlier, there's some universal laws that have to be applied in training and martial arts. And when you apply those, then, it's up to you to say, I want more. I want more. And our philosophy at Metro Jiu-Jitsu is, if you get behind a horse and you push him, they're going to either kick you or they're not going to move. But if you get in front of them and you pull them towards you, they'll follow you anywhere you want to go. So, and I'm not even talking about dangling a carrot. People will go at the pace that they are comfortable with. And I'd rather have people asking me for more training, harder training, more information, more complex information, than trying to shove all that down their throat at my pace. You can't accelerate the learning curve and the growth that comes with martial arts it has to come at the person's pace, and just by default, usually it is at their own pace. So nobody's really left behind because everybody accelerates at different levels. Some people have been training, 5 years, and they're like, they're like they train with black belts and they give black belts trouble. Some people have been training for 4 or 5 years and they're nowhere near that level. They're at a like white blue belt level. So everybody's a little bit different between the restrictions, their time, and how open they are and how coachable they are. But it all comes back to like the skin that they have in the game, and physically, intellectually, how open are they to really learning, and how much do they think they know, how much do they want to know. All those things go into play.
All right, Coach. So that's it as far as our topics for today's show. I think we covered all the technique, or excuse me, all the comments. Yeah,
You got all
super.
the comments?
Yeah, we got Abe. He says I needed. This is back during the diet portion. I need to hear this and see this as motivation. He says this podcast was just what I need to hear. I'm going grocery shopping today. Will change how I shop. Pretty good job announcing those guys. Yeah, so those are yeah, dude, the diet thing. Like I bought like Amanda's growing her own vegetable. We're growing our own vegetables now. Starting small, like just with like some lettuce and spinach and things, because that's I can't get the more I'm getting like I'm turning into a kind of a hippie on it. Like it just to me it seems like it's God made food to give our body what we need, and then like we start adding all this shit to it, and then we wonder why we have issues. We wonder why we have high doctor bills and things like that. So that's a huge one. But that's it. So we're gonna go ahead and sign off. Coach Muhammad, you got anything to add before we go?
That's it.
All right, you guys. As always, we'll see you on the mats.